Welcome to the Divorce View Talk Show. Hello, it's Joanie Winberg, divorce mentor and founder of the Fresh Start After Divorce community and the How to Emotionally Survive Divorce, the online course. It's always a pleasure to do this show together with my co-host, Rosalind and Sedacca. Hello, Roz.
Hi, Joanie. Good to see you again. I'm Rosalind and Sedacca. I'm recognized as the voice of child-centered divorce. I'm a divorce and parenting coach and founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network. And I'm very excited about our guests tonight. We have two of them, and they are a mother and daughter team. So, Joanie, why don't you introduce our guests?
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to bring on Nicole and Francine, and they are from the SOS Divorce Advisors.com website, and they are divorce advisors, and they have a fabulous book called The Top 37 Things I Wish I'd Known Before My Divorce, and tonight we're going to focus on the top 10. But first, let's welcome our guests here. Welcome, Nicole and Francine. We're thrilled you're here.
Thank you. We're thrilled to be here.
Thank you for having us.
So tell us a little bit about what compelled you to write this book?
You want to start?
Well, just a little bit about my background. I've been a family and couples therapist for 35 years in New York City, and I got really interested in seeing couples that were either going to get divorced and stay together or stay together, and what compelled me to go one way or the other with them. And sometimes I would do mediation just out of my soul, so to speak, help people get a peaceful divorce, and one that, of course, as Rosalind always talks about, child-centered. So I'm myself a child of divorce. My parents divorced in the medieval times when there was no information, and it kind of gave me a really an urge to help other children survive the divorce process, and so it's been really one of the things I wish to do, and so I'm fulfilling that wish, really helping families and children get through the divorce process.
What a great way to do it through what you're doing and also your book. And Nicole, tell us a little bit about what compelled you.
So many years ago, I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time and looking to get back into the workforce, and I did mediation training in Boston and in New York, as I moved here soon after. And I was a divorce mediator for several years in New York City before, unfortunately, I had to file for my own divorce. And then I decided to take a break from mediation and joined with my mother to do our Divorce Expo in New York City, which happened in 2012. And at the same time, we decided to write this book. So I was sort of on a break from mediation, and through the book and the expo, we started Start Over Smart Divorce Advisors, where we really help people through the divorce process. So instead of mediation, I work really more one-on-one, sometimes with couples as well, to give them information and emotional support, which I really think everyone must have. Anyone going through the process should have somebody that can hold their hand and help them emotionally. The attorneys just aren't the right person to do that.
It's such an emotional roller coaster ride, really.
Yes. And you need somebody grounded that can. That's even, you know, you don't have to have gone through it, but I have, and so I can bring that experience to helping people.
I think support is one of the most crucial factors in our mental well-being, as well as our emotional and spiritual well-being, all through the process. So you're totally right on. Doing it without that kind of support makes it feel very stiff, because the legal system is not designed to hold your hand, to comfort you, or do anything else along those lines. So thank God for the other side of the system.
Yeah, and you know, even mediation, which is I believe obviously so much in it, you know, they're working with the couple. You're not getting that one-to-one nurturing that you really need. So even in mediation or collaborative, I still think people need that emotional support.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to dig in and learn the top 10 things I wish I knew before my divorce. So would you ladies like to start us off?
Sure. I mean, these are things, you know, that are, of course, in our book, and we talk about it at length, but it's also really what we do in our practice. So I just want to say that because everything here is things that we cover when we work with people. So it's important to understand that. So,
yeah, so our first one really is, have you tried everything? And and that is really a very important one. It sounds very simplistic, but it really is very complex. It takes a long time to decide to get divorced, and it's our view that it's really important when you start to think about making that decision, again, is to get the help that you need to talk about it. Go to couples therapy with your spouse. Find out if you can open up your communication. Find out if, in fact, you can make it work. And one of the things I believe is that if you do go to those couples therapy before, as you're deciding, you learn to work with your ex or to-be ex. You learn to understand how that can work, that you can work together. And sometimes you learn that, and it can lead to your divorce and to your parenting after your divorce. So I think that it's very important to try every avenue before you make that decision.
yeah, something I'll say to that is, you know, when I was practicing mediator, what I found was similar to what my mother is saying, is that people would come to us to get divorced and realize that you can really, the communication skills were getting better, and then some of them decided not to get divorced.
Isn't that wonderful?
That's not happening in litigation. I'm not saying that everybody can use mediation, but sometimes you really haven't tried everything. And there's even something called marital mediation. So sometimes people don't want to go to therapy, but marital mediation is really more about skills or problem solving, and that's another avenue that we sometimes recommend to people.
To me, the biggest thing is if you can prevent it and they're happy and they go back and start working on things, that's the best. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's rare that you see people give up too soon. I do think most people, especially if kids are involved, they really do try everything. But before we ever start helping a couple or anybody I get on the phone with, I always say, you know, what have you tried? And sometimes people haven't really tried enough. And I just say you don't want to look back and regret that you didn't try this or that. You really want to know you gave it, you know, everything you have.
Absolutely, and that's where, once again, because throughout the show we don't have your website across the screen, so if they do go to sosdivorceadvisors.com, they can connect with you. If they're thinking about divorce but not sure if they have tried everything, that's where they can go to connect, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Whatever phase you're in, we're there to help.
Perfect. Okay, so that was number one. What would be number two?
So number two is don't hang on for the wrong reasons. And this one I don't take lightly. And this is, you know, we so often see, I can't tell you how many people have called me and said they can't get divorced because of the kids. And while that sounds like a very noble reason, I usually dig a little deeper and I talk about, well, what does the marriage look like? Because if it's horrible and chaotic and there's a lot of fighting and a lot of yelling, I try to explain that that's really bad for your children. And really, research has shown kids are not better off with the parents staying together if they're living in that kind of environment. They are better off with two parents living apart that can get along rather than two together that are not getting along. So, you know, I just try to give people a little recognition of that. It's hard for people to wrap their heads around that, and I get it because they think together is better, and certainly the kids feel that way most of the time. But research really does show that. So I say, look, if you're going to stay together, which I absolutely think people should try to, then you have to work on what's going on in the home. You
especially if it's verbal or abusive type of a situation, and I think parents probably don't think their kids see and hear everything, but they do pick up. They do pick up.
Oh,
so.
you hear that all the time. Oh, my kids are. We can't believe how often people say my kids are fine. They don't know anything. They think they're great, and it's never the case. Really never. Even very young children, 3 years old, can pick up.
Children pick up anxiety. They pick up parents who don't hold hands anymore, who scream at each other, who haven't kissed for 2 or 3 years. Kids pick up all of this and get very uneasy, and they themselves might regress. They may be bedwetting in those instances, but children absolutely know. It's very important to recognize that.
Well, and I think what you're saying is they don't articulate it, right? Kids 4, 5, 6, even 12 may not say, I'm upset, you're fighting, but they show it in other ways. There's going to be red flags of behavior for them acting that out. But the kids always know. So, we just want to be, make people aware. I think it's easy to put blinders on and say, oh, the kids are fine and we're going to stay together for the kids' sake. So that's where we say don't hang on for the wrong reason.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I can add there, beside the children, just general fear. What's going to happen to me? How can I be by myself? Can I afford to get divorced? All these fears run through your mind. And so that's another thing we say, don't hang on for those wrong reasons either.
Well, and that's where we really come in, because I think talking through your fear and finding viable solutions for your fear can help people, because people get stuck. You know, they're stuck in their divorce, but they're miserable, and they're stuck because of their fear. So we do a lot of work on talking them through their fears and how to get control of it.
Excellent.
Definitely. So what would be number 3?
Number 3 is to take the driver's seat. And there we really are talking about doing exactly sort of some of the things we're talking about. Get informed. Google as much information as you can. Talk to friends and family that have been through divorce, not your friends and family that have never experienced divorce, because really they're not going to understand. And it's just so important.
And not the ones who did divorce poorly. We don't want to use them as a model either.
No, but you may learn from that, right? What not to do. So, you know, it's going to be hard to only find people that had a good divorce, but you kind of gather as much information as you can. But of course, hopefully your role model will be those that went well. I should certainly hope so. Try to stay away from the ones that had terrible, long, drawn-out divorces. But, you know, the important thing is not to feel, oh, I've hired an attorney, I'm going to let them decide everything. We really expect people, and this is where we also come in with our work, is to empower you and give you the resources and information you need so you can make good decisions for your family. You know your family best. The attorney does not know, and every family is different. Every dynamic is different. And even just to explain to people what, you know, to have them envision what they want their lives to look like, because they're usually so angry that they're only about retaliation against their spouse, and we try to help them look past that you know, this is going to fade someday. It will. The anger will pass. We're going to help you, you know, with that. And when it does pass, well, what do you want it to look like? Because you're paving your future right now while you're going through divorce. So it's so important that they take control and they understand what they want. And so we say take the driver's seat means you be in control of your process.
Yes.
Great.
Anything to add to that?
No, I don't think so, actually.
Okay.
Great. So that would be number 4 coming up then.
Yeah, so number 4, you know, a lot of our book, and I picked this one out, Organize Your Finances and Know Them Inside Out. But a lot of our book does talk about the financial impact that divorce can have and how you can get your finances organized and the importance of that. I mean, other than children, divorce is a lot about finances. And a lot of people, that's very scary because often one spouse has handled all the finances for 20, 25 years and they haven't looked at a tax return, or they don't even know what their credit scores are. So there's a lot to do with that. And I love helping people with that. And a lot of people are very frightened to look at, you know, financial information. They don't understand it. And we help them make budgets, which I think is crucial. What is your budget now? Most people don't know that at all. What are you spending now? What do you foresee your future spending to be? So we work a lot with people in that, and we have forms in our book, budget forms and assets and liability forms. So we really put in our book all the financial tools that we think you need for the divorce process, and we made it as simple as possible. Tell you exactly what you need to do. And this will save you a lot of time and money if you do it through our book rather than going to your attorney and having them do it all with you. And it's pretty simple, but you need sometimes somebody to guide you through it.
Yes, but doing it yourself, at least starting to do it yourself, you begin to know where you're at. Getting control of your own process is very important. You know, I'll never be able to afford this. Sit down and write down your assets, your liabilities, write down what it costs you to live. Understand who you are and what your finances are, and you'll be on the right road to having much more control over your future.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I got divorced, nobody told me to check my credit. And it wasn't until after I was divorced that I realized I had zero credit. I didn't have bad credit, but I had zero. Everything was in my ex-husband's name. And, you know, that's one of the first things I tell people. Check your credit. Check his credit, your credit, you know, if I'm talking to a woman. Because it can affect your future. I couldn't lease a car. I mean, it really affected, and I could have done something during my divorce to fix that. I could have had my ex-husband lease a car, whatever. I could have figured, or I could have started to build my credit before. There's lots of ways you start building credit, and I would have done that at that time. So that's all in our book, all the things that you really should do to get prepared financially.
That's great. Great advice. So what would be number 5?
Number 5 is choosing the right divorce process for you.
Ooh, this is a big one, I think.
Well, it's important because it's shocking to me, that people still don't know what mediation is.
Mhm.
And I mean, right? I mean, mediation's been around. People are trying so hard to promote it, and yet people still look at me and say, "What is mediation?" I mean, I don't know. 9 times out of 10, people don't know what mediation is.
So we're still in the culture of the reflex of the telephone. I'm in trouble. I need the law, and pick up that phone and call the law,
The attorney.
which is the attorney.
Litigation.
Don't think that
Child-Centered Divorce Network strongly endorses mediation and
Absolutely.
collaboration and every resource possible before using litigation. So we explain in very strong language the downside of moving into litigation and losing control of your divorce, and the benefits of mediating and making the best decisions you can as parents together before you get into the divorce arena. So
Yeah, well, that's actually what my mother was saying. She really works with couples in the therapy session while they're thinking about getting, like, let's discuss it now before you go to attorneys or meet. Let's talk about it in the therapy session. And that is what we even try to do. If we get a couple in our offices before they're getting divorced, we often talk about parenting plan and, you know, all of that in a very friendly manner. But we totally agree. And there is so much out there talking about all these wonderful things. That's why I say I'm so surprised when people still look at me like, huh, mediation? So we spend a lot of time.
collaborative is really.
Oh, I know. And that to me is out there, but yet they're not hearing it. So I hear you.
A lot of people are, and so, you know, in the book we talk about all the different types and what the advantages and the disadvantages, because I don't bash litigation. I don't think that everybody is a candidate for mediation. I unfortunately wasn't, and I'm a mediator. I tried, and my situation was such that we had to litigate. So I don't look down on it. I think it's important and there for a reason. But if you can mediate or do collaborative, I do think it's a better way to go for most people. So 7 is something that we really think is so important, and we try very hard to help people with in what we do, and that's to separate your emotions from the business of divorce. And what we mean by that is it is very hard to make good, clear decisions, and you make a lot of financial decisions and custody decisions when you're angry or upset, or, you know, so which is why we say it's so important to get emotional support. Separate it. When you're going into your attorney's office or into that mediation room, try to check that emotional charge that you have at the door, and try to put your thinking cap on and your business cap on and address the decisions that you need to make.
Now, we all know that's a very hard thing to
I was
do.
going to say that's easier said than done.
It is.
It really
But if
is.
you can do it, it's very helpful.
Well, that is why we think that somebody going through the divorce process needs to go to an advisor like ourselves or a coach, somebody that takes you right through that process and allows you to separate your emotions from the business of divorce, because you're constantly dealing with your emotions on the side with those professionals that can help you with that. To do it by yourself, it's very hard to separate those two.
You know, and being a corporate trainer and stress management is huge there. I see even with my own clients how learning the basic steps of some stress management can really help separate it, like you're saying. But it's a tough thing. It's such a roller coaster ride, you know.
There, and you know, usually that anger is right there. And, you know, my mother always so brilliantly says that, you know, you need anger to be able to separate. It's not, you can't just be like, okay, bye, we're getting divorced, see you, kiss you, bye. And, you know, it's just not. You know, our bodies are designed to have that anger to help us separate. You know, it's just part of biology, really. And it does dissipate after time and healing.
Right?
Well, you must get help if you're not. And it's, again, almost impossible if you have a lot of anger to do it on your own. And we've certainly met with people 8 years after their divorce that are still angry, and it's just it's too well. We do talk about really sad. And we talk about that on number 9. But so to separate it is not easy, but it is a good thing to try to be conscious of and aware of. And if you can do it even a little bit, it'll help your process go more smoothly and probably faster.
Right.
And with less turmoil.
And what's number 9?
No, we're number 8.
We're not number 9 yet. We're still
Number
at,
8.
I think we're at 7.
Oh.
Emotional support.
Oh.
Okay, you just did that one, so I think number 8.
Right. Oh, I said separate emotions and visitors, and then the emotional support, right, is just what we've been saying over and over.
Okay.
Seek support. Then telling your kids, which is obviously huge, and Rosalind, you devote yourself entirely to this, I think.
Yeah, telling the kids and then co-parenting effectively
Exactly.
on behalf of the kids during and after. But yes, it's definitely one of these challenges.
Yeah, what I meant is children, right? And so we spend a lot of time helping people with how to tell your kids, how to co-parent, the importance. People just think, oh, we don't need to co-parent, right? He does his thing, I'll do mine. And so we really talk about the importance for your children. You know, they want to see you get along. They want to see mom and dad still parent them together as best they can.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of tools that we share to do that.
You know, a very small percentage, I'm sure, Rosalind, you know, even tell their children together.
I know,
And
yes.
as parents, I mean, that's a sad thing to say, but how important it is to have that united front. To be with your children and for them to feel that they've been supported by you and that you're not crying to them, that you're there to help them and support them and listen to them and communicate with them and keep that communication open throughout your divorce process and way long after you're divorced. So it's a very important thing.
And the tone that you use and the state of mind that you use affects them. So if you approach this is the most dreaded conversation and dreaded experience ahead, that's one thing, versus saying this is a change in our family structure, but things are going to work out better for us all. Kids have a whole different mindset from that. And
that's that one house, you'll have 2.
And there's a positive way to do it, and I think it's a matter of education, and that's why we love what we do, because it's not the parents don't want to do the right thing. They really just don't know what the right thing is. And they're grieving, you know, usually one more than the other possibly. And so someone's just saying, hey, just because you're grieving doesn't mean your kids have to see you grieving. Oh, really? Well, that's true, right? I mean, you can show your kids a different face that you're, you know, not all the time. They can know you're sad, but I think just people need the education. And so we really put a lot in our book about children. And again,
and really, co-parenting after the divorce is final is really when it starts. I mean, that's when it really starts.
Well, divorce really begins after the papers are signed, right? I mean, that's when the work begins. It's a whole different, and it's life for life, you know. And
yes, and that's what we're talking about. These first 6 or 7 things is to try to build the couple, actually, to be a new kind of couple, to be a positively divorced couple that takes care of their children together and that can co-parent together, as you say, and can have good communication. And I know in Nicole's case, Nicole, do you want to talk a little bit?
I was going to say that, and I want to tell this to people, that even if you have a horrible divorce, it's never too late. It's never too late to repair and to show your kids that you can get along, and you can say, oh, we're so sorry that. And my situation was, my divorce was very high conflict and very ugly, and the minute those papers were signed, it was like magic. I don't know, everything became okay, and we've gotten along perfectly since, and I really practice what I preach, and it clicked for my ex-husband, and we co-parent beautifully. We speak every day. He's remarried. We still speak every day. We go to games together. We've had dinners together. And we're thrilled, and I'm so happy that I can give my kids that gift. And
I just want to say that my grandchildren as well, and I want to say that they have their issues with the divorce still, and they have their issues with perhaps their stepmother. They have their issues. However, they're fine.
Yeah.
They know their parents are there for them. They know they're on the phone 2-3 times a day talking about their baseball games and who's picking up who, when, or what, and it's all friendly and it's all together, and it is just wonderful to watch.
Well, and I have to say, and I do think, first of all, you have to get rid of the anger to do this,
Right.
But once you do get past it, having that support from your ex, I mean, no one's going to love your kids like your spouse does, or your ex-spouse. And to have that support forever is huge. I know when I have a problem, and I have 2 boys, 2 teenage boys, he is the first call when I'm having a problem. And he backs me up, and I am so lucky and proud that we can do that for each other, and I do the same for him. And it is a big loss, and it doesn't have to be for you not to get along with your ex. You know, you can do it. It is hard, and you have to work through the anger, but if you can, it is so worth it for you and your kids, but really for you too.
Absolutely.
These are wonderful, wonderful tips, and I wish we had the time to go through the entire.
But I think we have one more then, don't we, number 10?
So, you know, we just were really talking about how to practice forgiveness. So it's about letting go of your anger, and don't start dating too soon, which I really think is very important. Wait the year at least. Focus on your kids. They need you. You need to focus on them.
And they don't need more loss. So wrong choice, and you have to break up with this fellow or gal. It's not good for your children either to have that loss again. So
absolutely, and that's my passion. That's where I love working with them, their personality, so they recognize who they were married to, so that they don't turn around and remarry or marry the person that they just divorced. So
I'll send that to you out, because in that first year, that's what we say, work on yourself, learn what you did wrong, or you know why you chose that person, so you don't make the same mistake again, because that happens over and over again.
Because you will.
Right. You don't work
so why don't we make sure they have your website again, ladies?
Thank you. It's www.sos, which is for Startup for Smart, divorceadvisors.com. SOSdivorceadvisors.com.
And the name of your book?
37 Things I Wish I'd Known Before My Divorce. And you can get it at Amazon.com or through our website.
And since your names aren't up there, give us your names too. So
I'm Nicole Fewer.
And Francine Barris.
At SOSdivorceadvisors.com. Ladies, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, and thank you for the top 10. It was very informative and really helping us pull it all together so that people can go through that checklist before or while they're maybe thinking about divorce, but then also after or during and after. So thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Your book is available now?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. That's great. Well, it's a pleasure having you on board as always. Joanie, thank you so much for a wonderful show.
Absolutely. And just to let our viewers know, too, that you can go to divorceview.com to see the video. That is in the archives. You can always go there and view it as many times as you'd like. And also, we are now a podcast, so that's also another way to tune into the Divorce View talk show. So thanks so much for tuning in. In the meantime, have a great week, and we'll talk to you then.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.